Welcome. Almighty God, we pray for your blessing upon this council. Help and prosper its work for the advancement and benefit of its people, so that peace and happiness, unity and justice may be established among us all. Amen. Manningham Council acknowledges the Wurundjeri Woiwurrung people as the traditional owners of lands and waterways now known as Manningham. Council pays respect to elders past, present and emerging and values their ongoing contribution to enrich and appreciate the cultural heritage of Manningham. Council acknowledges and respects Australia's First Peoples as traditional owners of lands and waterways across country and encourages reconciliation between all. Manningham Council also values the contribution made to Manningham over the years by people of diverse backgrounds and cultures. Welcome everyone. I welcome all the members of the public who have joined us today in the gallery. It's lovely having people in the gallery to observe our meetings, and also the people who have joined us online to observe tonight's proceedings. I'd also like to recognise and welcome back former Councillor Thomas Lightbody. Thank you for joining us tonight, Thomas. I would like to advise that tonight's meeting is being audio and video recorded. All care will be taken to maintain your privacy. However, as a visitor in the public gallery, your presence may be recorded. By remaining in the gallery, it is assumed your consent is given if your voice and/or image is broadcast by council. No additional recording of this meeting is permitted without council's consent. Council meetings are conducted in accordance with our governance rules. I will introduce each item of business as listed on the agenda, calling it by number and by reading the title. I will then call for a mover and a seconder of a motion on the item before opening any debate. Only councillors can join the debate on an item. Councillors may adopt the officer's recommendation in the report or propose amendments and supplementary motions. I would like to draw your attention to item 7 on tonight's agenda, public question time. Public question time provides people with an opportunity to ask questions of the council. Council has allocated 30 minutes for question time, and the process for public question time is set out in our governance rules. Questions must be received prior to the start of the meeting to be asked. Where we receive advance notice of a question in accordance with our governance rules, we will provide a verbal response to the question at our meeting. Questions we receive just prior to the meeting may be taken on notice if we don't have the information available to provide a meaningful response. If this happens, we will provide you with a written response to your question within 10 working days. Our governance rules provide that we will deal with a maximum of 2 questions per person and up to 4 questions on any one issue. These rules will be enforced to ensure a broad range of topics and perspectives can be heard during question time. When it is your turn to ask a question, I'll ask you to come forward to the lectern in the gallery. After you ask your question, you'll have 2 minutes to make a brief statement. If you have more than 2 questions, please submit these additional questions in writing to council through the normal channels. To ensure the efficient conduct of our meeting and maximum participation during question time, all questions and answers shall be as brief as possible and no discussion will be entered into. Councillors and the gallery are reminded that question time is to be conducted in an orderly and respectful manner, having consideration to the diverse views of those present. Any disorderly conduct will be managed in accordance with our governance rules. Item number 2, apologies and requests for leave of absence. So we have no apologies, and I note that Councillor Mayne is joining the meeting online today. Councillor Mayne, can you please confirm that you can hear us and see us?
Yes, Madam Mayor, I can see and hear the meeting.
Thank you, Councillor Mayne. Councillors, are there any requests for leave of absence? And there are none. Item number 3, prior notification of conflict of interest. Councillors, I have received prior notifications of conflicts of interest from Councillor Goff and our Chief Executive Officer. Councillor Goff.
Madam Mayor, I have submitted a written disclosure, I will be, of conflict of interest from the form for the CEO for confidential item 18.1 Planning Scheme Amendment C125 Yarra Valley Country Club.
Councillor Goff, can you just talk very briefly about what your interest is in the matter?
My one is my actual interest is the general interest. As a former councillor colleague, was involved in the proposal for a redevelopment of the Yarra Valley Country Club areas. So it's my friendship, I suppose, with that person.
Great, thank you, Councillor Goff. Noted. CEO.
Thank you, Mayor. Councillors, I've submitted a written disclosure of conflict of interest to the Mayor for confidential item 18.3, which is CEO employment matters. My interest in this item is material conflict of interest as the matter directly relates to my employment, and I will leave the meeting prior to consideration of item 18.3.
Thank you, Andrew. Would any other councillors like to give a notice of conflict of interest? And there are no other conflicts of interest. I'll move to item number 4, confirmation of minutes. Do I have a mover?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to move that the minutes of the council meeting held on 23rd of September 2025 be confirmed.
Thank you, Councillor Conlon. Do I have a seconder?
Madam Mayor, I second the motion.
Thank you, Councillor Bain. I will put that to a vote. All those in favour? And that's carried unanimously. Thank you. Item number 5, presentations. 5.1, acknowledgement of Vincent Ciardulli, outgoing unit controller of the manningham.vic.gov.au unit. So, councillors, I would like to formally acknowledge Mr. Vincent Ciardulli, who is the outgoing unit controller of the manningham.vic.gov.au unit. Vincent has volunteered with the SES for over 33 years. He doesn't look that old. Becoming controller of the Manningham unit in mid-2020. Throughout this time, Vincent has led the unit through extremely unpredictable and challenging COVID environment. The hailstorm of January 2020, which impacted homes and vehicles across Templestowe, Doncaster, East and Warrandyte. The major storms of June and October 2021, and the floods of October 2022, and even the storms that we've just had over the weekend. Vincent welcomed and empowered a new generation of leaders, encouraging younger volunteers to step into leadership roles. He placed trust in them, mentored them, and helped shape a culture of growth, inclusion, and resilience within the unit. This cultural transformation has left a lasting impact and positioned the unit strongly for the future. While Vincent is stepping down from his leadership role, we are pleased to know he'll continue to serve with the unit. His experience, mentorship and unwavering commitment remain invaluable. On behalf of Council, I'd like to thank Vincent for his dedication in serving the community and present a certificate of appreciation in recognition of his services to the community. And just while you stand there, Vincent, just before you go, I also want to thank Steve Chair for taking, well, not thank, but acknowledge who will be the new unit controller of the Manningham SES. If you want to come, and we would congratulate you as well.
Steve's just a younger version of me.
So thank you very much. Thank you, Steve, and thank you both.
It's been a delight and a pleasure. And I'll just say I've really enjoyed a robust, healthy and a really productive relationship with the councillors and with the council over the past 5.5 years, and look forward to still being part of that.
Great, thank you both. Item 5.2, and we have some more lovely news. We have the Premier's Award 2025 Victorian Senior of the Year Award. Councillors, the Victorian Senior of the Year Awards were held at Government House on Wednesday the 22nd of October 2025, and I'm very proud to acknowledge Mr Patrick Templeston of Doncaster, who was honoured with the 2025 Victorian Senior of the Year Award. This prestigious award recognises individuals who've made an outstanding and enduring contribution to their local community and to Victoria. Patrick is the co-founder of Operation Stitches, a program he established in 1996 with his wife Chris. Since its inception, Operation Stitches has had a profound and lasting impact on children and families living in Melbourne's public housing estates. Since turning 60, Patrick has generously volunteered over 30,000 hours to Operation Stitches. His focus is on mentoring children facing complex challenges such as poverty, trauma and social exclusion. Through weekly sessions, Patrick fosters confidence, emotional resilience and a sense of belonging, empowering young people to believe in their potential far beyond academic support. On behalf of Council, I'd like to extend our sincere congratulations to Patrick on this remarkable achievement. And we did not just have one award in those Premier Seniors Awards, councillors. I'm also proud to acknowledge Miss Dilnaz Billamoria, who has been honoured with the Promotion of Multiculturalism Award at the 2025 Victoria Senior of the Year Awards. This award recognises individuals who have made a significant contribution to promoting the benefits of cultural diversity within their local communities and across Victoria. Dilnaz's dedication and experience, and we witness this almost daily, her dedication and experience in advocating for multi-faith and multicultural communities has helped foster a more inclusive and welcoming Manningham. Throughout the years, Dilnaz has volunteered and made different roles, including multicultural, health, interfaith and positive ageing. Her work continues to inspire and strengthen our shared commitment to diversity and unity. On behalf of Council, I extend our sincere congratulations to Dilnaz on this outstanding achievement. Councillors, item 5.4. I'm very proud to share that Manningham Council was recently recognised at the inaugural MAVlab Innovation Awards hosted by the Municipal Association of Victoria on the 8th of October 2025. Manningham was named as a finalist for the Insights Award for Leadership in Data-Driven Decision-Making for the development of our Gender Impact Assessment app. And I've just lost my page, councillors, just give me 1 second, that's it. The team developed and delivered a streamlined, user-friendly platform that improves data visibility, enhances reporting, and builds staff confidence in conducting gender impact assessments, which is now being showcased across councils and considered for broader adoption. On behalf of Council, I'd like to extend our sincere congratulations to our organisational development and IT teams whose leadership in diversity, inclusion and equity has set a new benchmark across the sector. We also give them a round of applause. Item 5.5, motion of condolence, passing of Mr Egon Cyganek. Councillors, it is with very deep sadness that I must inform you of the recent passing of Mr Egon Cyganek, and we have some of his family joining us today. Egon was the founder of Egon's Cake Shop Bakery along with his wife, Karen, who's also here today. Back in 1971 at Macedon Square, Egon's impact on the Manningham community was deeply valued, not only for the warmth and connection his bakery brought to locals, but also for the opportunities he created through employment and his contribution to our local economy for over 54 years. Do I have a mover for the motion?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move that motion.
Thank you, Councillor Grievous, and I'm very pleased to second the motion. Councillor Grievous, when you move the motion, you just need to read.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move that number one, that Council place on record its sadness at the recent passing of Mr. Egon Cyganek, and number two, record its appreciation for the contribution of Mr. Egon Cyganek to the Manningham community, and number three, extend its sympathy and condolences to Egon Cyganek's family during this difficult time.
Thank you, Councillor. Would you like to speak to the motion?
Madam Mayor, I just wanted to add, on top of that, we want to acknowledge Egon on the community service that he provided over the 50 years. Basically looking after a lot of young kids coming to work in the area, doing a lot of community work, supporting community groups throughout Manningham and also throughout Macedon Plaza as well. So we really appreciate all the work that he's done in making Manningham a better place to live.
Thank you, Councillor. I might also speak to the motion. So, councillors, like many Manningham residents, Egon's has a very special place in my heart. So I've been living in Doncaster since 1977, and never a Saturday went by when Dad wouldn't come home with a Boston bun from Egon's. He was a man of tradition. It was always the Boston bun. After he went down to Macedon to get his fruit and vegetables. And as a young girl, I used to go to the doctor across the road, Dr. Shields, and as a way of sweetening it, Mum would always take me to Egon's and get me a bacon and cheese roll. And they're just some of the many memories that I have of Egon's Cake Shop. And when you speak to so many people in the community, it has such a special place in people's hearts. So I do want to acknowledge the contribution that Egon has made to the community, Karen has made, and Gary, when you continue the legacy with the bakery, these things are very special and they contribute to the spirit and that community feeling of Manningham. So I do express my condolences to all the family on his passing. Councillors, would anyone else like to speak to the motion? I will put that to a vote then. All those in favour? And that's carried unanimously. And thank you again for coming tonight. Councillor, it's with deep sadness that we have another motion of condolence. 5.6, the passing of Dr. Jim Poulter. Jim served as councillor of the City of Doncaster and Templestowe from 1982 to 1985. He was a founding board member of Doncare and the Manningham Community Health Centre, was awarded Manningham's Citizen of the Year in 2012 and was first recipient of the prestigious Key to the City for Manningham in 2018. Jim's impact on the Manningham community was deeply valued, including his dedication and contribution across a range of social and community issues across the municipality and the state. Most notably, his significant role in working closely with Aboriginal elders and Indigenous organisations in advancing reconciliation in Manningham. Jim was also a published author, publishing 25 books and selling more than 70,000 copies over the last 30 years. These included several acclaimed Aboriginal-themed children's books and the scripting of the documentary The Fighting Gunditjmara. Do I have a mover? Councillor Chen.
I move that Council place on record its sadness at the recent passing of Dr. Jim Poulter. 2. Record its appreciation for the contribution by Dr. Jim Poulter to the Manningham community. And 3. Extend its sympathy and condolences to Dr. Jim Poulter's family during this difficult time.
Thank you, Councillor Chen. Do I have a seconder?
I second the motion, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Lang. Councillor Chen, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. Dr. Jim Poulter's passion for truth-telling about Aboriginal people was unmatched. Jim's understanding of Aboriginal culture came from lived experience and genuine collaboration. Even in retirement, Jim continued giving talks to schools and community groups, and I still remember Jim used to give up his books at citizenship ceremony, which was tremendous and appreciated by the new citizens. Jim's work will continue to enrich our understanding of Australia's oldest living culture. So my deepest condolence to Dr. Jim Poulter's family.
Thank you, Councillor Chen. Councillor Lang, would you like to speak to the motion?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. As we've heard, Dr. Jim Poulter made a significant contribution, not only to Manningham, but also to the education of others in general. He made a significant contribution to Warrandyte, the nature and the biodiversity and the appreciation of the land. And he also was a journalist, a very regular journalist in the Warrandyte Diary. As we heard, he was an author and published many books, and especially the Aboriginal-themed children's books. And he really advised on caring for nature and biodiversity. And he will be remembered, and I send my deep condolences to the family, but also to the community, who are also, quite upset to hear about his passing. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lang. Do I have any other speakers to the motion? Councillor Conlon.
Yes, thank you. And I'd like to also extend my condolences to Jim's family. I've never met anyone as passionate about history, I don't think, when I met Jim, and particularly our local history here. And he was literally a walking encyclopedia, so it's great that he had the opportunity to put all that knowledge down on paper. And I just, like as I said, whenever I met Jim, he would get my ear on something or other, and not let it go for a while, but that's all good. But he was a great man to have a chat with about everything Manningham, everything Aboriginal, and it's sad that he's passed. Thank you.
Councillors, I'd like to also speak to the motion. I had the pleasure of working with Dr. Jim Poulter in the Reconciliation Action Plan Working Group, or it's now the RAP Yarning Circle, and I had the pleasure to learn from him, as you've all spoken about, our rich Aboriginal culture and history. Right up until just before he passed, he wrote a beautiful article in the Warrandyte Diary on Yingabil, the River Red Gum at Heidi, and I encourage people, if they want to learn more about Aboriginal culture, to read this beautiful piece which talks about harvesting bark from the trees in August when the sap is rising so it doesn't harm the tree, and doing it ahead of October, which was when back then the banks of the Yarra would flood, and it's, even on the weekend, seeing the banks of the river rose quite a lot. You just see the wisdom of Aboriginal people, and it's beautiful to know their cultures, and I think it's really important for us to appreciate that culture. So I thank Jim for sharing that knowledge and history with us, and I hope his legacy endures, and I'd also like to express my condolences to his family. Do I have any other speakers to the motion, councillors? I'll put that to a vote. All those in favour? And that's passed unanimously. Item number 6, petitions. Councillors would like to note the written responses have been provided to the lead petitioners from the 26th of August and 23rd of September 2025 council meetings, and were included in the agenda. This will be recorded in the minutes and in accordance with sub-rule 58.9 of the governance rules. And there are no petitions for tabling tonight. Item number 7, public question time. We have received several questions for tonight's council meeting. Anyone who has registered a question with council will have the opportunity to read out their question or chose to have it read out by the CEO. I will call upon those who have registered their questions to come forward to the lectern in the gallery. Our first question tonight comes from Thomas Lightbody. Thomas, would you like to come forward to the lectern? Thank you. Good night. Thank you. It's got nothing to do with your questions, I assure you, Thomas.
That's right. That's right.
Thomas, you've got 2 minutes to read out your questions and 2 minutes to make a brief statement.
No worries. Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. It feels quite fun being on this side. I think around the world and even here in Melbourne, we've been seeing quite a rise in quite disturbing hate crimes and discrimination against all people throughout our community. And over the past 2 years, it's been quite difficult in particular for some members of my community, the LGBTQIA+ community, who have faced for the first time in a while an increase in hate speech, harassment and targeted violence. Even in my own experience, a few weeks ago, I was walking down Peel Street from one very well-established nightclub to the next and was yelled at, called a faggot. And that was the first time for me, the first time I've ever experienced that sort of speech in public. And a few weeks before that, another establishment in the area, the Laird Hotel, was a place where people often feel safe and welcome, and it was graffitied and defaced with SWAT stickers. So there's been quite a number of events in recent months that have been quite concerning. And they're not all isolated. They're part of a pattern that has made our community feel a bit less safe today than we did even potentially this time last year or this time a few years ago. And when councils like Manningham and every other council in Victoria fly both the rainbow flag and the women's flag, it isn't a token gesture, it's a symbol that says you're visible, you're seen, you're safe, and you're accepted. And to the many women in our multicultural community, it also signals a support for their own rights and often the support for their plights back in their relative former home countries as well that they continue to fight for. For many of us, a visible symbol isn't just symbolic or has a casual meaning. It kind of symbolises the fact that we don't need to hide anymore. It's out there saying that we are who we are, when many people, including in my lifetime, had to hide that out of fear of discrimination. I might skip because I think I'm running out of time. I'll skip down to my question. So this policy ensures that Manningham continues to uphold those values and shows that we're a compassionate and inclusive city. So I'd like to ask the officers 2 questions. Can they confirm whether or not there's been any complaints regarding the existing policy? And my second question is, can they comment on the positive impacts recognising both Ida Hobbit Day and International Women's Day for both the Manningham community and Manningham as an organisation? In particular, how this aligns with attracting and retaining a workforce that is now increasingly younger and more open to analysing an organisation's reputation and social licence when choosing where they work. Thank you.
Thank you, Thomas. I'm going to ask our CEO to provide a response to your questions.
Thank you for the questions, Thomas, and I'm certainly saddened to hear what your experience was recently and hope that that's not the sort of experience that occurs here in Manningham. In relation to your first question, I'm not aware that we have received any specific complaints in relation to the flying of flags, certainly not in my time. It hasn't been brought to my attention. With regards to your second question, absolutely we're conscious of the need to be an organisation that's very aware of the 600 staff that we've got and the diversity of the 600 staff that we have, and very focused on inclusion and diversity initiatives. As you well know, we do acknowledge key days such as Ida Hobbit Day organisationally, International Women's Day, NAIDOC Week and the like. We're really proud of the work that we do organisationally to acknowledge diversity, and you saw some of that with the Mayor acknowledging the work that was done in relation to our gender equity action plan. We had a session today with over 100 staff where we kicked off our new gender equality action plan. I know it's important to all of our people to belong. I know it's important and incumbent on me as CEO to make sure that we're focused on inclusion, religious inclusion, cultural diversity, sexuality and the like. So I can assure you it is something that I'll continue to focus in on as CEO. It's certainly something that is referenced in the council plan as well, very strongly. So it's an expectation also that we work with the council as an organisation to support their objectives in that area. Thanks for the question.
Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. Thank you, Thomas. Our next question is from Jeremy Wheeler. I don't think Jeremy is in the gallery, so I'll ask our CEO to read out Mr. Wheeler's question.
Thank you, Mayor. And the question from Mr. Wheeler is, an area to the south of Petty's Orchard, including a small creek, has hectares of rampant blackberries. I understood from Councillor Isabella El-Taha that discussions were undertaken some months ago with Parks Victoria to resolve the problem. What was the outcome?
Thank you, Andrew. I'll ask Tony McGann, who's the Acting Director of City Services, to provide a response. Thank you, Tony.
Thank you, Mr. Wheeler, for the question. There's several issues at play here, and it'll be great, Mr. Wheeler, to bring you up to date, but also bring councillors up to date with where we're at. Firstly, the land is owned by Parks Victoria and leased to another party. We acknowledge that there is a great deal of heritage value on the site, but council normally does not maintain land that it doesn't own or it doesn't control. Further complicating the issue is Petty's Orchard is a certified organic site, and as a result, weed control by chemical means is not possible and would most likely require several years of manual effort. We do continue to advocate to Parks Victoria, but at this stage they have indicated that with the current lease arrangements they have in place, they're not in a position or prepared to undertake the weed control themselves.
Thank you, Tony, for providing that response. Our next question is from Stella Yee. Stella, would you like to come to the lectern? And again, you've got 2 minutes to provide a brief statement and then 2 minutes to ask your 2 questions. And then the third question that you've submitted will be answered separately by the officers.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, everyone. The co-working business hub at MC Square was announced in June 2024 as a key initiative to support Manningham's many home-based and small businesses. The development and operation of the hub is a Council Plan 2021 to 2025 priority and a key part of the Economic Development Strategy 2023 to 2028, aimed at strengthening the local business ecosystem and fostering entrepreneurship. With $1.6 million allocated across 2 budgets and a planned completion date of July 2025, it was a welcome commitment to strengthen our local business community. It's now the end of October 2025, and the community has yet to receive any update on the progress or opening of the MC Square co-working hub. Could Council please clarify the current stage of the project and confirm when it will be completed and ready for local businesses to access? And 2, will Council demonstrate a stronger commitment to supporting local businesses by delivering a fit-for-purpose, 21st century co-working hub that meets the needs of our business community. Thank you.
Thank you, Stella. I will ask Karen Patterson, who is the Acting Director of Connected Communities, to provide you with a response.
Good evening, and thank you, Stella, for your question. The name and the design of the new co-working hub has now been finalised, and I'm pleased to share that it will be called Upspace. The name reflects its location on Doncaster Hill and its purpose to uplift local businesses and professionals. We are in the final stages of a procurement process to appoint a builder, with the contract set to be awarded in the not too distant future. We are aiming to launch the new co-working space in mid-2026, and we'll be in a position to share more information with the community in not too distant future. In response to your second question, our intention is for Upspace to demonstrate our ongoing commitment to support our local businesses by offering a place where businesses can work, network and access supports to help them grow. The facility will feature a reception area, 27 desks, a meeting room, some private focus pods, lockers and a kitchen. There will also be access to the terrace, offering spaces for people to network and connect. Users will be able to access high-speed internet, video conferencing and equipment, as well as printing facilities within the space. And we're looking forward to opening it in not too distant future. So thank you for your question.
Thank you. Thank you, Stella. Our next question is from Mary Merkinich. Mary, would you like to come to the lectern? And again, Mary, you have 2 minutes to make a brief statement and then 2 minutes to ask your questions.
I note that Manningham Council has an excellent policy called the Flying Flags in the Civic Precinct policy. I would like to urge the Council to extend this by joining Brimbank Council's policy of flying the Disability Pride flag. Brimbank Council was the first Victorian council to fly this flag this year on July the 8th. I would encourage Manningham Council to begin a dialogue with our disability community, including the disability rights groups, about this idea, and the Manningham Disability Advisory Committee, which I believe advises Manningham Council. I would also urge including support groups like My Time for parents and carers. I know that as a part of Manningham's current policy, which I see from the agenda is up for review, that other flags, including the International Women's Day flag, Anzac Day flag and National Reconciliation Day flags have been flown. I applaud this policy. Having the International Women's Day flag flown pleases all my female friends, and in particular women from countries such as Iran, where women's rights are not respected, and such a flag would never, under their current repressive regime, be flown. I have relatives from Iran as well as neighbours. Raising the Disability Pride flag would be more than tokenism. It would promote respect because it visually demonstrates that. It would promote awareness of the barriers faced by this community, including mistreatment of people with a disability. It would promote visibility. Too often the community and its interests are ignored. Frequently the disabilities are invisible to many of us, if, for instance, it is a mental disability. And often the community feels that its concerns are still unseen and unheard. Flying the flag is a reminder that this community is here and that they matter, and consequently it would also promote a sense of pride for that community. So I urge councillors to build on our current flag flying policy. My question is, on July 8th, 2025, Brimbank Council hosted Victoria's first ever flag raising event for the Disability Pride flag. Would Manningham Council recognise the significance of inclusion and visibility by raising the Disability Pride flag?
Thank you, Mary, for your question. I'm going to ask our CEO, Andrew Day, to provide you with a response.
Thank you for the background, Mary, and thanks for the question as well. As you rightly point out, we've got an existing policy that we can work through in considering your question here tonight. I think your suggestion around engaging with the Disability Advisory Committee is a good one as well, so we can certainly pick that up from an officer perspective and start those conversations as well. So thank you for the question and the background.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Our next question is from Cynthia Pilley. Cynthia, would you like to come to the lectern? Again, Cynthia, you've got 2 minutes to ask your, 2 minutes to provide a brief statement, background, and then 2 minutes to ask your 2 questions.
Thank you, Deirdre and councillors. I recently attended Blackburn District Tree Preservation Society's AGM. The main speaker was Dr. Greg Moore, and his topic was urban trees, undervalued but vital as climate changes. After 30 years of growth, trees are most at risk by us, we property owners. Yet it takes 25 to 30 years of growth before trees reach carbon positive. The easiest, least costly and most effective impact on carbon removal is trees. The value of a property is improved up to 30% with canopy trees. Property owners need to know this. Development Victoria is a licence to moonscape. This is Dr. Greg Moore's description. Councils need to find a way to protect our canopy tree interests, and it can't happen without an engaged community. Another point that was made, 19 local government areas have a tree cover of less than 20%, when 30% is the target. It's great what's being done thus far at Manningham, but more protection has to be achieved if Manningham is to be part of reversing the trend rather than merely reducing the rate of the slide. So my first question is, does Council still encourage dialogue and seek to engage community members like myself and others who are keen to contribute ideas and experience to bring residents up to speed on the urgent need for canopy tree protection? Just as an aside, Amanda de Croo has offered to pull together points highlighting our concerns and aspirations in order to facilitate dialogue. And my second question is, assuming that community engagement will continue, will Council's professional planning officers be permitted to take part so that strategies developed reflect the cut-through that can only be achieved when all perspectives are heard and acted on? Thank you.
Thank you, Cynthia, and thank you for your ongoing advocacy on this very important matter. I'm going to ask Andrew McMaster, who is the Director of City Planning and Livability, to provide you with a response.
Thank you, Mayor, and good evening, Cynthia. Officers are certainly aware of your desire to be involved in further community education on tree protections. At this stage, with updates made to our council website and a canopy tree article published in Manningham Matters, as you had suggested, we have no further plans for community education. A raft of other planning reforms, including several very significant announcements made by the government today, will be our immediate focus and priority for further community education. I can assure you that any further community education campaign on trees or the reforms that were announced today will involve our professional planning officers. I know they have been involved in the drafting of several pieces of advice to you on canopy tree protections and the recent tree-related planning reforms. They will absolutely be critical to educating our community on these reforms moving forward.
Thank you, Andrew. And thank you again, Cynthia, for your questions. So that brings us an end to question time, and thank you for everyone that's submitted questions. Item 8, admission of urgent business, and there are no items of urgent business. Item 9, planning permit applications. There are no planning permit applications. Item 10, City Planning. 10.1, Manningham Recreational Bike Facilities Plan 2025. Do I have a mover?
Madam Mayor, I move this on the paper.
Thank you, Councillor Goff. Do I have a seconder?
I second the motion, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Lang. Councillor Goff, would you like to speak to the motion?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and I think this motion and the policy and the strategy to put facilities into our community is a very good one. Must say from the outset, we in just the opening, we did list the fact that we've got some facilities at the moment, and there's not very much really if you just read this, but there's a lot more that we have already got. We've got a dirt facility near Wonga Park, and we've got a BMX facility at Stinton's Reserve, and that's actually renowned, and there are BMX clubs, I believe, that work out of that, used to work out of that, and some Candlebark Reserve, some non-ordained casual tracks and things like that going around. And so we're looking at more, but we've got a lot more than that because we have, over the past 30 years, been putting in lineal parks along rivers, along creeks, connecting our parks and facilities, and it's been a strategy of Manningham since about the early 90s. Early 90s it was started, where we were buying up land and providing those lineal paths. We've got bike tracks now around Manningham. I think there's one little section to be completed, or it might have just been, but yeah, we've got one little bit to go. But we have got an enormous amount of recreational bike tracks. Why do I call them recreational? Because they actually are, because most of the time if you want to go somewhere, the road is a lot faster. So it is a recreational thing. But this outlines a vision for the future of what's happening in a higher density area and putting some facilities in for people that aren't normally able to access it. They don't have broad acres, they're not living in that, but we're getting them stretched around our municipality. Now, some of them, like a BMX track and extensions out there, we're going to be doing out there. But there are lots of other ones and small things, especially for smaller children, because the options of smaller children being able to find a facility to be off-road and to ride around are limited, but we do have some paths and things where kids can do that. But this is giving facilities within parks, and especially the one in Bulleen, where Morris William Reserve, in the future, if that one goes in, there are a lot of people around with small children. They would like a place for the kids to actually ride around on in a safe way. And that one, I think, was a pump track, so kids with roller skates and other sorts of things can get around on the same sort of track. It's from that to other sort of trail rides that we need to actually facilitate, because there are community members wanting to build them illegally, I suppose, and go to them. And it's far better that we actually do have some provisions of actual places around that they can actually undertake those activities. And there are a lot more other sort of tracks and things that we're actually looking at building in this strategy. I think there are 8 of them, but I could be wrong. I think there are 8 sort of facilities in this, of ranging, for catering for kids of ranging age and abilities and all the rest. So I congratulate that we've got this together, and it's a plan to work forward to assist our community with choices of facilities that are suitable for their children and for their exercise. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Goff. Councillor Lang, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to speak in strong support for this motion for the final recreation bike facilities plan. And I emphasise the final, because the plan represents a well-considered, evidence-based and community-driven approach to a clear recreational well-being for our municipality. It is about creating safe, inclusive and purpose-built facilities for riders of all age and all ability, as Councillor Goff mentioned. The draft plan was developed last year, and we went to test it with the community. And in providing facilities for pump tracks, flow tracks and skill parks. These types of facilities were encouraged, and the community consultation ran, and we had an outstanding engagement. So I say final because we've had the engagement and we got such high results. So we received 704 surveys. We had exceptionally high respondents in terms of saying that the 85% of respondents were impressive with the overall plan and the direction, and then 80% supported the development of the facilities themselves. There was overwhelming community engagement. I'd also like to thank the officers who went out to our schools and to our advisory committees and to engage with residents, families, cyclist groups, and also your say, Manningham had 2,600 visits. And this is what the community told us. They want high quality, professionally designed facilities that cater for all skill levels. They want safe, accessible environments that integrate well into our parks. They want environmentally sensitive designs that protect the vegetation and the wildlife. And they want well-maintained facilities that will last the test of time. And the supporting infrastructure, which was so important, such as seating, water taps, and connections to other local parks and schools. We did receive a small number of people that were a bit uncomfortable, and that was one of the sites was St Clem's Reserve. And in response, we have designed a smaller footprint for that reserve and committed to a 2-stage consultation project. We've also learnt from our neighbouring councils about their successes, how establishing these parks has minimal antisocial behaviour, how it's actually improved community ownership and reduced vandalism. In fact, there's been call-outs for these quite... please go for an extension.
Can I have a mover for Councillor Griffiths? Can I have a seconder? Yes. Councillor Conlon, I'll put that to a vote. All those in favour? Councillor, you've got another 2 minutes.
Thank you. And there were call-outs for these facilities. So I'm pleased, councillors, that we have heard from the community and we are acting. So therefore, the final plan identifies 8 sites across Manningham, developed progressively over the next decade. This includes Stingett Reserve in Park Orchards, Wonga Park Reserve, Morris Williams Reserve in Bulleen, Zerby's Reserve, Jenkins Reserve, and Fitzsimmons Reserve in Templestowe, which will be the first project to be delivered in the financial year. What the plan achieves is balance, and that's always the key. Balance between recreation and environment protection, balance between youth and community amenity, and balance between local input and our city-wide vision. It delivers council's commitment to sports and recreational development, and it responds to our community's very strong call. So, councillors, by endorsing the final Manningham recreational park facilities tonight, we enable the next step, to not just be from the planning stage, but to the delivery stage. So we can get on and we can build these facilities which are safe, inclusive, professionally designed, and facilities our community have told us that we want. So I look forward to seeing the investment in the health and wellbeing recreation of our community, and I commend officers for their outstanding work, because I wholeheartedly support a plan that plans and delivers. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Do I have any speakers against the motion? Do I have any other speakers to the motion? Councillor Chen.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And I just wish to highlight the 4 actions identified by officers to guide the development of each reserve. So I just, Councillor Lam touched some of this, but I just wanted, because it is so important, I just want to repeat it again. And the first actions is inclusive design principles, and that means it is about making places everyone can use. And the second actions is side-by-side assessment of supporting infrastructure, which Councillor Lam already touched on that. So that supporting infrastructure could include drinking fountains, seating tables, lightings, maintenance stations, just to name a few. And the third one is targeted programs, such as female-only sessions, and disability inclusive programs will be considered as well, just by way of example. And the last one is, Councillor Lang also touched about that, the balanced planning to accommodate both active recreation, such as cyclists, and existing passive users, such as dog walker and pedestrians. And I have to emphasize that balanced planning approach recognize that different users have different needs, and the facilities must be designed to be safe and comfortable for a wide range of abilities and ages. And finally, I just want to touch on public input is essential for creating plans that are relevant, effective, and sustainable. So each side will have its separate communications and engagement plan to inform the community engagement and consultation. But I have to just to bring one very important issue is about e-bike. And as the report identified that many councils raised the use of e-bikes causing damage as an issue on the soft surface tracks. So I would like to see that officers taking that into account when implementing the program. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Chen. Do I have any other speakers to the motion? I might speak to the motion, councillors. So, yes, I'm of the generation where we'd get home from school and get on our bikes and just got home at dinner time and that was about it. And I completely understand the need for children and adults to be able to ride. I think I completely understand how important it is. And I see the support for this strategy, but I do just want to just note that while we got a lot of good feedback for the particular reserves, there were some concerns. So, for example, if I look at St Clem's, as Councillor Lang said, there were 7 people for it, 4 against. So it's not a huge discrepancy. Jenkins, there were 6 responses for it, 3 against. Zerby's, there were 5 for it and 4 against it. And in Katrina Gully, there were only 3 responses. So, and the comments against it were, we would like to reserve part of these places for other recreational facilities like walking our dogs, maintaining a safe environment. If I look at a place like Katrina Gully, which is now just, excuse my language, but it's being smashed by the North East Link, and there's a lot of development around that. Our older adults or people with disabilities need to be able to walk safely. Dogs need to be walked. So while I'm not objecting to this, I do support the officer's recommendation that as each of these bike tracks are designed, there is a second level of consultation to ensure that the community does support the design and all recreational user needs are supported. And I also support the recommendation for St Clem's and Katrina Gully that there's some further consultation there and in other languages as well to ensure that we really do represent all of our residents' interests, and it's always a difficult part of being a councillor. It's very rarely black and white. So I just want to ensure that whatever we do, we don't take the ability for people just to enjoy walking through a reserve without fear of having a BMX coming behind them. I might put that to a vote, councillor. All those in favour? And that's carried. Thank you, councillors. Item 10.2, draft integrated water management strategy for community consultation. Do I have a mover?
I move the motion, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Lang. And do I have a seconder? Councillor Goff. Councillor Lang, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. I rise tonight and speak in very strong support for releasing the draft Manningham Integrated Water Management Strategy for community consultation. It will be for consultation in a 6-week period from the 31st of October to the 15th of December 2025. Councillors, I am passionate about this area because water is essential for life. It underpins our health, well-being and livability of our city. Yet our water sources are under growing pressure from population growth, urbanisation and the impacts of our climate. Our rainfall patterns are changing, with longer dry periods and more intense storm events like we experienced the other evening. This affects everyone from our parks to our sports fields to our creeks to our homes to our biodiversity. To respond, we must take a more integrated and forward-thinking approach to managing water across the municipality. So that's exactly what this strategy does. The Integrated Water Management Strategy provides a clear 10-year direction for how council and the community can use, manage and value water more sustainably across our built and natural environments. And I'm pleased to share these 4 key directions with you all. Using water sustainably, improving efficiency, increasing alternative sources, improving our waterway health and biodiversity, improving flood management, and strengthening our community's understanding and partnership. The strategy has been shaped through extensive consultation with stakeholders like Melbourne Water, Yarra Valley Water, the Wurundjeri Woiwurrung Cultural Heritage Aboriginal Corporation, and Council's own Flood and Stormwater Management Community Reference Panel, which we call the CRP. I want to tonight thank and acknowledge the dedication of the engagement of our CRP members that has taken place through multiple workshops where community members have provided practical feedback and directly influenced the strategy, the structure, the tone and the actions. Their contributions have helped refine the strategy into 2 parts: a concise and easily digestible strategy document and a detailed background report for those wanting to dig much further into the detail and the evidence found. Importantly, councillors and the community, this is a community-facing document. It translates complex technical work into something that is digestible and meaningful for the public. The strategy recognises the ongoing support of our traditional drainage system. It doesn't replace it, it supports it and strengthens it. So this is very much a whole of council, whole of community approach, delivering a vision from all our departments, from our environment to our open space, to our drainage, to our planning, to our community education. We are not adopting the final strategy tonight, councillors. We are simply opening the door to an important step to invite the whole community to have their say. So I welcome the 6-week consultation and the opportunity to hear from all Manningham residents, community groups, businesses, to provide feedback and to ensure this strategy reflects our shared values and aspirations. In short, we at Manningham are preparing for the future. A future where water is managed wisely, efficiently, and in support with our environment. I want to thank the officers who have been involved in the process, and I wholeheartedly welcome the release of the Manningham Integrated Water Strategy for all our community to provide feedback, and that includes our CRP members. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lane. Councillor Goff, would you like to speak to the motion?
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor, and I don't know where to go to after that comprehensive speech has been given, but basically I think we've got to think of the integrated water strategy, and the best place to view what it does and where it is to view it on page 196, where it shows what this integrated water management strategy is trying to deal with, and it's to deal with state government legislations and policies that are there. Okay, and there are about 5 or 6 of those different policies that councils are expected to respond to, and this strategy will address in its written form to actually providing us guidance with relation to those things. We've got the operational documents and things that we do here in Manningham in working with our rainwater, stormwater and whatever, and has input into reading from that on what we do in Manningham. And basically you've got the council plan, and that's probably going through more with the expenditure that we've got, and it's guiding us with the expenditure that we spend on that. And then we've got on the right-hand side the local strategies that we have in our council, that we've got different strategies in a whole lot of different areas, in all of the Green Wedge, the Livable City strategy, open space strategy, recreational strategy, all of those strategies. And they feed in, and this strategy is responding to all of those inputs and directing us into which one of these and where we're to go. So it's a very vital and important document overall in strategically looking at the situation of what we do with water and runoff from water. Now, I'm not going to talk about water supply, but it probably does come into a bit of that, but it's the rainwater that is causing the greatest difficulties and problems. Whether it's increasing or not increasing in the storms or whatever, the very fact is that we've got less land that is open to be absorbing water into, and the runoff is coming through and going into drains and then causing difficulties and problems with where we are. And that is a pure drainage issue. There can be nice ways, which can be in here in the integrated water management stream, of managing some of that water, but in the main, the biggest element of what we're doing in the area and the big expenditure is on drainage, because the actual drainage system is the very important one that we need to look at overall as well in this whole thing with regarding water management, because that is the one that leads to the flooding and the overland floods and things like that. But if we can divert, if we can do some other things, that's what we're looking in here and exploring. And it's going out for public consultation, and I hope that for the next 6 weeks. So from the 31st, from memory, the 31st of this month, that's Halloween, isn't it? To December 15. Oh, gee, I've got a good memory. I haven't got Alzheimer's yet. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Goff. Do I have any speakers against the motion? Do I have any other speakers for the motion? Councillor Conlon.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Goff and Councillor Lang. They were great comments, and it's been an honour to be on part of the panel. And as we've considered this going through the process, and as Councillor Lang pointed out, this is out for public consultation, so it's going to be great to get a wider berth of comment from people. And I just want to acknowledge the good work of the panel. And you know, these are tricky things sometimes. We go and ask community experts, you know, their opinion on things, and they're very generous in giving us their time and their opinions. And I congratulate the officers in terms of acknowledging those opinions and working many of those opinions, not all, but many of those suggestions into what we have tonight for release to the public. So I definitely, I strongly endorse this being released to the public and look forward to further comment. Thank you. And thanks to the officers again.
Thank you, Councillor Conlon. I will put that to a vote. All those in favour? And that's carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors. Councillors, with your permission, I'd like to reorder the council agenda this evening to bring forward a confidential item 18.2 for consideration in the open meeting. Can I please have a motion to reorder the agenda that also includes a declaration that this report is no longer confidential?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think I'd like to move that.
Councillor Grievous, thank you.
For transparency purposes, that A, the order of the business be amended in accordance with sub-rule 25 of the governance rules to bring forward the confidential item 18.2 prior to consideration of item 11, connected communities. And B, the council declare information contained in item 18.2, the submission, revised clause 57 mid-rise residential standards, is no longer confidential information, and the report be considered in open meeting of council.
Thank you, Councillor Grievous. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Goff. All those in favour? And that procedural motion's carried. So I'll move to 18.2, submission revised clause 57 mid-rise residential standards. And councillors, I'd like to move this motion that the recommendation be adopted. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Conlon. So councillors, I will speak to the motion, and thank you very much for allowing this to be brought into the public. Just by way of background, on the 25th of August, Manningham Council was invited by the Department of Transport and Planning to make sorry. I got carried away, councillors, and I didn't read out the recommendation because it's not in the public realm. Thank you, Carrie. That council endorses submission to the Department of Transport and Planning on the proposed changes to clause 57 in planning schemes, attachment 1. And note that officers will lodge the endorsed submission on the proposed changes to clause 57 in planning schemes to the Department of Transport and Planning. So I'll just confirm that you second that.
Like to second that.
Thank you, Councillor Conlon. And again, I'm going to start talking now. Thank you. We'll reset the clock. Everybody, okay. Right, you think after the whole year I'd get it. So, on the 25th of August 2025, Manningham Council was invited by Department of Transport and Planning to make a confidential submission on the revised controls, with those controls being for mid-rise residential apartments, where mid-rise is 4 to 6 stories. These revised controls can have a significant impact to the community. So we believe at Council that it's important to discuss these transparently to the community. The proposed new provisions will replace the neighbourhood character standards with statewide rules, including a deemed to comply assessment pathway for some standards. The draft provisions also propose to remove the appeal rights of objectors on decisions to VCAT if the applicable deemed to comply standards are met. And let me be clear, councillors, that means that we're removing the appeal rights for developments of up to 4 to 6 stories. In our officers' submission, they noticed their concerns with the removal of these third-party appeal rights, with the ability for 4 to 6 level developments that can be made across our neighbourhood zones, including our general residential zone, remembering the removal of appeal rights, and the removal of neighbourhood character assessment, councillors. And if you'll just indulge me, I just wanted to read out some of our officers' concern. So I'm really love and really much support the officers' report, which I hope you all endorse, where the officers, our planning officers, state that it's their opinion, and I support this, that the proposed amendment is premature and should be postponed until there's a clearer understanding of other key planning reforms. At this stage, there's so much going on with activity centre structure planning provisions, housing target capacity and modelling tools, the deemed to comply clause 55 conditions, which are having quite a significant impact for townhouses. And only today, councillors, the Premier just lobbed a statement on a bill that has been introduced for a planning amendment bill, which will further reduce appeal rights. They're now called common sense appeal rights in this bill. So there are significant changes, and we heard concerns from Ms Cynthia Pilley about tree canopy. That's just one of the considerations here. So at Council, we all support planning reforms that simplify planning processes. This is welcomed, and our officers have that same opinion. However, the planning reform must achieve planning outcomes, but just simplifying and streamlining it, it may just relax controls, but not improve the livability, both for new residents and existing residents. Community engagement, we all agree, it's a long-established tenet in the Victorian planning system, and it's so important for us to understand that only 3% per annum of any of our planning applications are declined. But that community input goes to actually enhance the livability outcomes for all of them concerned. Removing these rights, it excludes community involvement in favour of the development industry, who often view the community as an imposition to that development. I also just want to really quickly talk about the impact on mixed-use zones, township zones, general residential zones, neighbourhood residential zones, residential growth zones. All of these are put aside, where these 4 to 6 storey townhouses can now go under these proposed provisions. And those zones, they're the fundamental part of the Manningham planning scheme. And again, I want to make this really clear. We're supportive of the need to have more housing. We've not pushed back our housing targets that the state government has given us. We've even been approved to meet those housing targets using our existing Manningham planning scheme and developing along major corridors and major activity centres. So this is in direct contrast to something that we've been approved to do. And finally, we do not support the removal of neighbourhood character. I mean, this is not saying not in my backyard. This is saying things like tree canopy are really important. Things like overlooking is really important to minimise that. So, councillors, I encourage you to endorse this report. I know I'm out of time, and I encourage the community to lobby their government representatives on these massive changes and the ability for them to have a say. Councillor Conlon, would you like to speak to the motion?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would appreciate that. And as I just want to reinforce some of the points you've made, but also just congratulate the officers. I mean, that they've had to turn this submission around in a very short time. And as you said, it's premature to even consider this. In fact, the officers have pointed out a number of conflicts of this clause 57 and the in their submission in terms of how there's a chicken and egg thing sort of going on here, and I don't know what the egg is, what's in the egg, but no one else does either, because there's a complete inconsistency and lack of. They haven't even released guidelines. Normally, when the state government goes through this process, they'll release some guidelines to inform planners and developers and council and the public about what might this look like. But there's no such thing. That's gonna come along later. This is like the trust me. Trust me, state government. They're saying to everyone else, trust me, and I don't think they're earning much trust, because they've proposed a whole lot of blanket, basically, amendments, effectively, that, as you pointed out, Mayor, are going to increase. It's going to increase inappropriate development. It's going to reduce our neighbourhood character. It's going to take away people's rights to object. There is nothing. I can't see anything really good about this. I know that the officers have been quite complimentary in saying, "Oh, yeah, this, and this," but about some of the aspects of it, that's fine. But to me, it's the contempt. It's the contempt of the state government putting this on councils that is a real issue. And the result, the consequences are going to be, we are going to be left with reputational damage, because when we don't have any choice but to approve deemed to comply inappropriate developments, of course the public are going to be upset with us. They should be, but unfortunately we don't have any power to say no. So this is a real it's not cost shifting, it's blame shifting. It's effectively a long-term blame shift. Okay, state government will destroy all your local neighbourhoods here. We'll let you put up 6-storey apartments wherever developers like, and if you don't like it, suck it up, because you can't object, and just blame the council if you want to complain to someone. So this is going to be the long-term consequences of this. So again, I congratulate the officers on doing such a fantastic job of pointing out the many inconsistencies of this particular proposal, along with all the other ones that the state government have put out. And I think our report points out there somewhere about the lack of, like, normally this would be a steady process where a whole lot of things are considered at once and sort of worked out how they're going to work together. In this case,
time. Would you like an extension of time?
I would like an extension, yes.
Councillor Grievous has moved it and Councillor Chen, did you second it? Yeah, thank you. I'll put that to a vote. You've got 2 minutes, Councillor.
Thank you. The problem is this is a piecemeal sort of approval process or amendment process, and the effect is that none of it is going to work together, I believe, for anything that's going to be good for Manningham. I come from a design and engineering background, and there's no way you would release a plan for something that you're going to build without being absolutely sure how it's all going to work together. And I see in this plan no coherent plan or no coherent idea of how all these clauses and sub-clauses and neighbourhood character and everything's going to work together for the good of Manningham. It's going to be a disaster, I believe, and I thank the officers for bringing it to our attention and for putting a strong submission, and I ask my fellow councillors to support the submission. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Conlon. Do I have any speakers against the motion? Do I have any other speakers for the motion? Councillor Lang.
Thank you. I'll just be very quick. Councillors, we just previously endorsed the Manningham Recreational Bikes Facility Plan because it talked about balance. It talked about balancing recreational use of bikes and recreational use of walking and being able to exercise your dog and being able just to sit in parks. It's exactly the theme that we're asking for here in this submission. It's about balance. We all want efficient and effective planning processes, but there has to be the right balance with development, with livability. There has to be the right balance with neighbourhood characters, construction and environment. This submission talks about getting the balance right and the mechanisms or the criteria to keep that right. So what we build is something we can be proud of. Development, we are welcome, but we welcome it within our neighbourhood character. It's a balance between livability and development, and I encourage all councillors to support the submission, and I encourage our state and federal government to think about the right balance.
Thank you, Councillor Lang. Do I have Councillor Goff?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Look, I do support this motion that we do, I suppose, say something about what is occurring in our metropolitan areas. I do, however, know that we do, as a council, employ limitations, and I went to check, but I'm not 100% sure, but I think in Doncaster Hill there are no appeal rights for a high-rise going into the next block, okay? None. So basically we have put that in our Doncaster Hill strat. I think, I could be wrong, and please if I'm wrong, but if we said you can have the building here to this height, you can have the building here, and it's going to block out the neighbour next door and you can't see the city, and those people can't complain about that. Now, the fact is that I think as councillors, we have not, as a sector, we haven't been fast in responding to things. And this is now coming up to catch the sector. But in second to that, there's a mistaken belief that the Manningham planning scheme is Manningham's. The Manningham planning scheme is a minister for planning of Victoria. Planning is only given to us to do on behalf of the state government of Victoria, not in place of. The state government Victoria hold all the cards on what happens in Victoria. They've just empowered councils to make decisions on their behalf, and we're being treated in a way now that is we also always go along with, oh yes, and we've got our planning scheme and whatever, but overridden by the state government and overridden by the planning minister. Doesn't matter what we do. It goes to VCAT, goes to there, and if they see that it's middle in any way, they'll get up whatever they want. So we're in a pretense if we think we've got all of this extra power. We have tried in the past to represent our communities really well. The interesting thing I see in this one is that Richard Wynne, the Labor minister who came in a few years ago, toughened up all the buildings of high-rise and units that required a whole lot of things that cost a lot extra to build these units, and it did raise the standard. There were minimum ceiling heights in them, there were minimum room sizes, there were minimum sizes, there was a natural light to every room regulations. There were regulations absolutely everywhere that added thousands of dollars to the constructions, all right? Come around now, a lot of them are being removed and saying, oh, look, you do it. If you can do some public housing and some other housing, look, we don't have to do all of this, all right? And so what we're getting is a rush in a government wanting houses developed because we're importing people into this country and we've got nowhere to put them. And basically we're not building them in enough time and they need it all built a lot faster. I can understand why they're doing this. They're not only making
Councillor,
changes...
time.
I'm trying to have an extension.
Would you like an extension of time? Councillor Lang, and do I have a seconder? Councillor Chen. I'll put that to a vote. And Councillor, you have another 2 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Look, it's not just in these medium rises. It's in the high rises. It's in the whole of the railway line, which is designed to allow a state government to take over every station in a 3-kilometre radius and do whatever it likes in it. It won't be coming to us. Once a station is nominated at Manningham, and it's most probably around Shoppingtown, a 3-kilometre diameter is now taken away from us, including this building, and state government make decisions on that. The whole reason for putting populations in those stations, and it could be political. I don't know why, but it could be political, the reason for doing it, to changing. But the thing is, changes are coming through what this government is putting through, and it's ramming it through because it's finding that it's not going to be able to build the houses that it has promised to build. It's not going to be able to spend the money. And in the end, even if we do have all of these things through, it's a dangerous thing because what it will is give us a hodgepodge of an area, and you just have to go to some other countries overseas, and you just one city in is Manila. It'll look like that because you can put a big building here, and you have a little building next door, and you can have all of this, and it's all humble jumble. There's no sort of reason or rhyme that this building is here and that building's there, and it creates chaos. Now, I hope that that doesn't occur as a result of the legislation that the government are putting through and the plans that they're wanting to do just to fast-track things or to make it look as if they're doing something about building housing. And I say make it look as if they're doing something about it.
Thank you, Councillor. Do I have other speakers? Councillor Chen.
Well, Madam Mayor, I still remember in early 2024, we conducted extensive community consultation and many workshops and pop-up stops and advisory committee engagement with residents and your say, blah, blah, blah. And so a lot of community feedback and regarding our residential discussion paper and activity center design concepts. So council already commenced to update our strategy policy settings and residential and for residential and commercial use. So I mean that any planning reform that can simplify and streamline the planning process are always welcomed. But the thing is, there are many uncertainties, and I understand that there are also other important planning provisions. For example, activity centers structure provisions and the housing target capacity and modeling tools have not yet been released by the state government for consideration. Also, I have to say that the draft is very technical. Because it's so technical, we are not experts. Normally, for that important provisions and amendments, we rely on our officers with that professional knowledge to brief councillors with simple, easy, that can be understood in a very easy English to explain the complex planning provisions, so we can understand, and then we can then ask reasonable qualified questions and just reflect community concerns. But because of the time constraint, and we couldn't really have the opportunity to be briefed, to understand the whole concepts, and to ask questions. So that is very unfortunate, and I agree that that is very, very premature, and we have to rely on officers' expertise to do the submissions in a very short time frame. And officers have been doing the best to contribute in the submissions with and just to provide their opinions on different options. But it is what it is. So I really hope that the state government can really read the submissions carefully. And I always believe that if you really intended to address something, and that can be done by really read the papers and consider all those different opinions and make proper recommendations and amendments as well.
Thank you, Councillor. Time.
All right.
Would you like an extension, Councillor?
I would like to have another 30 seconds, if I may.
Councillor Gough, will you move it? Councillor Lang, you'll second, and then we'll put it to a vote. And that's carried. Yes, you have 2 minutes, Councillor.
Just by way of example, across the Tasmania Sea and our neighbour New Zealand, I just read an article about New Zealand's building issues in the 1980s to 1990s, and they are trying to boost the housing supply, and they just continue just the same pattern. And they fast-track the planning process, the building process. And now they are facing a lot of properties that have all those issues. And the council and the state government is facing the massive suit from the investors and from the occupants. So I think that we should learn from their experience. And we have to be very mindful for this particular very big planning scheme amendments. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Councillor Chen. Anyone else like to speak to the motion? Well, I'll put that to a vote. All those in favour? And that's carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors. I'll move to item 11, Connected Communities. 11.1, Creative Communities Framework. Do I have a mover?
Yes, Madam Mayor, I move that the recommendation be adopted.
Thank you, Councillor El-Tahar. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Chen, thank you. Councillor El-Tahar, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. Firstly, I would like to say a really big thank you to the council officers for their dedication and development of this framework, which has taken substantial energy and focus. Officers have engaged frequently and through very diverse channels with community in order to develop this framework, and the consultation started early this year. I'd also like to thank the dedicated members of the Arts Committee, of which one is actually in the chamber tonight. Thank you, Heather, for your ongoing commitment, for their opinions, experiences and contributions. Each member of the committee has a very diverse experience set within the creative arts community, and their input has been very valuable. As Chair, I look forward to seeing how the framework will be applied across our municipality. So to provide a high-level overview, the Creative Communities Framework will guide the work of officers across the arts and cultural services space for the next 5 years. Some of the key concepts in the framework include really providing pillars that address sort of the program. So they provide focus on the type and scale of programming that's appropriate to what the community has wanted. Really assessing what some of the themes and key priorities are that underpin the program, and will focus on community representation, access and availability for improved, and especially looking at improved support for local creatives and artists. Clarity on the role, so something that the officers will be able to use in terms of providing clear focus on what their mandate is in this section, and a real focus on sustainable change and an approach to strengthening and realigning their program pillars that supports all of our existing resources that we have, which are quite plentiful in this space. Overall, the framework provides really clear rationale for delivering arts and culture across Manningham that reflect what the community really wants it to be, and it introduces a more effective approach to program design and engagement of our audiences. that has been a really key focus area for our officers to make sure that even though sometimes we all passively experience the art around us, how can we really make it an immersive experience for our residents such that it impacts and touches their lives? So the next steps will include council endorsement to proceed with public consultation on the draft framework that we have tonight, and the final version and community feedback will be presented for formal endorsement at the December council meeting. So I welcome all councillors to support that, and thank you very much, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Eltaha. Councillor Chen, would you like to speak to the motion? Thanks.
Thank you, Mayor. And there's a general perception that the political attitudes in Australia favour sport as being more broadly appealing, and there is a lack of understanding or appreciation of arts and culture sectors' economic and social value. And I have to say that the recent data showing the sector's 67.4 billion economic contribution in 2023-24 financial years, representing 2.5% of the economy, which is comparable in size of rental, hiring, and real estate services. So while sports offer physical health benefits, arts and culture provides unique opportunities for emotional expression, cognitive growth, and connection to shared identity. Not everyone plays sports. Focusing on one over the other excludes a significant portion of the community. Therefore, I'm very proud to see the draft creative community framework is tabled tonight for endorsement. And the report mentioned about the Manningham State of the City report, and I had the pleasure to read the report. And the report identified 20% of Manningham adults reported experiencing loneliness. Generally, young adults, older adults are more at risk of loneliness, along with people with disabilities, migrants, low-income households, and those living alone. Experiencing loneliness can be resolved with arts and cultural programs. When people engage in these programs, whether through creating arts or attending events, they offer a way to express emotions, help people build new relationships, strengthening existing ones, improve mood, boost confidence, foster social connections, and provide a sense of community. So Councillor Eltaha has explained a lot of things and the goals of this framework, so I don't need to repeat it again. So I totally supported this framework, and I hope that all councillors will support the recommendations as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Chen, do I have any speakers against the motion? Do I have any other speakers for the motion? Councillor Mayne. Yes, Councillor Mayne.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just briefly to add from my time on the Arts Advisory Committee. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. Okay, I'll just be brief. Just to add from my time from the Arts Advisory Committee last year, I just can confidently say that this draft framework captures many of the themes we discussed, as well as some of the shortfallings we were experiencing. The Creative Network Initiative is something that I'm particularly excited about, and it's something that local artists have been consistently calling for. I also think it's very powerful that the framework clarifies our role, not as a producer of events, but as a partner, advocate, and enabler of creativity, ultimately setting out a clear pathway for us to support this important space. So overall, I think this draft framework represents a significant step forward in how we support and deliver arts and cultural services across Manningham, and I look forward to seeing the outcomes. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Mayne. Do I have other speakers to the motion? Councillor Lang.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just quickly, because there's been lots of great comments and detail provided, but we all know that our arts and culture is a way of identifying and valuing community. And if it's not from our First Nations people to our newest arrivals, it's for all ages, genders, cultures, religion, it's for everyone. And this Connected Communities framework really looks at having a purpose, a vision, the themes and the action that promote inclusion, harmony, safe, active experience, expression of skills and talents, connection for everyone, and local promotion, local placement and local artists. And I just really wanted to bring out that our arts and cultures is for everyone, and it's about supporting local and to be able to also celebrate our local arts and culture.
Thank you, Councillor Lang. I'm going to put that to a vote. All those in favour? And that's carried unanimously. Councillors, I just need to pause before we get to 12.1 because I understand that there's a slight amendment to the recommendation. So if you just let us pause for just a handful of minutes, but please don't go. We're going to restart the meeting. Thank you, councillors. We just had an administrative... We just had an administrative thing that we just needed to confirm. And we do have Peter Bain, who has just stepped out. But we can proceed without him. Yes, we can. So I'm going to go to item 12, City Services. Item 12.1, Open Space and Landscape Construction Services Panel Contract Award. Do I have a mover? Councillor Condolence.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, I'd like to move that the recommendation be adopted with the following amendment, and that is to item B, that we add make public the list of successful tenderers in the public minutes.
It's related to item
A. Sorry, this is related
Councillor.
to item A,
Yes.
is it? Okay. All good. Sorry, item A. Yes, I think that's an amendment, so in addition to item A, as it is, with those words to make public the list of successful tenderers in the public minutes.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Councillor. Do I have a seconder? Oh, thank you, Councillor Goff. Councillor Conlon, did you want to speak to the motion?
Only really briefly, just thank the officers for going through a long process of this important contract, which which will hopefully deliver value for money for residents of Manningham over the long term. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Goff, would you like to speak to the motion?
Just quickly, Madam Mayor, there are a number of works and things like that. So there's a multitude, $4.7 or something million worth of works that are going out. And indeed, if we were to have a workforce to do all of those specific tasks, it would cost us indeed a lot more than that to actually get those done. So it's a way in which with a smaller permanent workforce, you get those particular jobs that you need done when you've got done, and we've got this group of contractors that are able to go out there and we can trust to do the jobs that we want to the standard that we want, and hopefully they get all the things that they want to do in this coming year done. That'd be great. Thank you.
Here. Thank you, Councillor Goff. Do I have any speakers against the motion? Any other speakers to the motion? Put that to a vote. All those in favour? And that's carried unanimously. Item 13, experience and capability. 13.1, review of flying flags in the civic precinct policy. Do I have a mover? Councillor Bain.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to move a procedural motion to withdraw this item from tonight's agenda.
Okay, Councillor Bain, do I have a seconder for that procedural motion?
I'll second that.
Councillor Conlon, I'll put that procedural motion to a vote. All those in favour? And that's carried. So the matter will be withdrawn. Thank you, Councillor. Item 13.2, advocacy priorities. Councillors, I'd like to move this item and that the recommendation be adopted. Do I have a seconder?
I'd like to second that.
Thank you, Councillor. So, Councillors, I'm very proud of our advocacy priorities, and I think we just should remind ourselves of what they are. Councillors, for most of my mayoral term, I've been talking about glass recycling reform and advocating that rather than spending up to $4 million on rolling out the purple lid bins, that we instead build on the incredible success of the container deposit scheme, where in Manningham we've had more than 1 million containers returned. We are also concerned in Manningham that with the advancements in glass recycling, that there's minimum environmental benefit from having the purple lid bin. So that's an important piece of glass advocacy, and it's an important advocacy priority, and one that I will talk to later in this meeting, councillors. We also have an advocacy priority on better bus services, and as the only municipality without a tram or a train or any other type of rail, it's really important that we have better bus services, that we make use of the significant investment in the Doncaster Park and Ride and extend opportunities through that, as well as have clearer expectations on the bus network reform pilot. We will continue to advocate around Aquarina. You know, councillors, we've got a very exciting project that requires $24 million to redevelop the outdoor pool at Aquarina, and we'll continue to advocate for that funding. We will also continue to advocate for transparency in delivering the North East Link. And councillors, for as long as I've been a councillor, we've had advocacy around the tunnel exhaust stack being filtered. So we'll continue to advocate for a filter being put into that exhaust stack, and also, if it's not filtered, to understand what are the emission levels that will trigger that filter to go in. We'll also continue to advocate to the North East Link project for real-time data now on dust and air quality. It's not fair for our residents living in and around that project to get data that's between 6 to 12 months old. And councillors, will also be advocating for better services for children and young people. And this is a new advocacy priority for council, a very important one where we talk about sustainable funding for a maternal and health nurse. And councillors, I recall a council meeting where many of us spoke very passionately about the hugely important role maternal health nurses play in sleep settling, and we'll continue to advocate for funding for that, which we believe is a core priority. We will continue to advocate for increased investment in infrastructure to accommodate the state government's reforms in 3-year-old and 4-year-old kinder. Many of our kinders are only one-room kinders and will not support these mandatory 3-year-old and 4-year-old requirements. We'll also increase funding certainty for local mental health specialists for young people. We did advocate for Headspace and will continue to advocate for mental health services for our young people. So, councillors, there are high-level advocacy priorities. I seek your support for those, and we will start to build our advocacy material underneath that as we head into a state election next year and continue to advocate to our federal counterparts. Councillor Conlon, would you like to speak to the
Yes, just briefly.
motion?
Councillors, obviously this is not an exhaustive list of all the things we're trying to advocate for, but it does narrow it down to the top 5. And I'd like to just acknowledge the officers' work. When I first got on council, there was not a list. There was not an advocacy and any idea about what we're advocating for, except usually just putting our hand out for opportune money. But if we thought that was appropriate, but we've gone a long way here, and this is about actually community, about what are the benefits to the community. What should council be doing or what should the other governments actually be doing to improve the life of our residents? Because there's only so much we can do. And in fact, even with Aquarina, like that's our facility. But in terms of asking for help with that, I think it's legitimate. It's a very legitimate thing. Because if the state government can fund that, that means we have more money that we can fund in other areas, and it will improve the design scope, as I understand it, of Aquarina. It'll actually give us better options in terms of how that finally turns out. So it is really important that we actually follow through, and I encourage the organisation to look at how other councils and other organisations have been successful in their advocacy efforts in terms of developing the material that this will now authorise you to do, to make sure that we get the best of those ideas in there, and obviously that we continue. And I'd like to just point out the good work that we've done. The Mayor and the team have been doing in terms of getting in contact with ministers and the like, in terms of pushing those advocacy priorities, as well as those other things that we talk about, and along with planning reforms and etc. All the other stuff that goes unsung, but is really important that we do this and we do it well. So I endorse the 5 priorities as written. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Conlon. Do I have any speakers against the motion? Do I have any other speakers for the motion? Councillor El-Tahar.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I also support the priorities that are listed in this motion, but I just want to reiterate one of the things that I've mentioned is I believe that sometimes the community isn't always aware of the advocacy work that council is doing, and while there is sort of meetings and discussions with members, it's not always known to the community that these things are happening. So one of the things that I strongly support alongside this is always just making sure that we find ways to notify and update community on that. And as Councillor Conlon mentioned, this isn't the exhaustive list. I am in strong support of issues that greatly matter to the community that get advocated for. Some of them are not relating to funding, some of them are related to social justice issues, and I think that it's really important that not only we advocate to community when they ask us to, but we then also show them how we have done that. I think that that's a bit of a missing link, but I thank the councillors, I thank the officers for their work in pulling this together for council, and note that it's a starting point, and there are also a lot more things that we can do to advocate for on behalf of community. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor El-Tahar. Do I have any other speakers for the motion? Well, I'll put that to a vote. All those in favour? And that's again carried unanimously. I'll move to 13.3, Annual Report 2024 to 2025. Do I have a mover?
That the recommendation be adopted, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Lang. Do I have a seconder?
I second that, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor El-Tahar. Councillor Lang, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yes, thank you. It is my pleasure to speak to the Manningham Council Annual Report for 2024 to 25 and the final report of our council plan for 21 to 25. This report celebrates the dedication, innovation and collaboration of council staff and community over the past year. It also reflects the progress we have made on our vision to the community. And that's really important when our community panel get together and spend so much time deliberating and coming up with a vision. It's so important that we show how their priorities have been delivered. So over 24-25, we delivered more than 100 services and 52 million capital works programs, upgrades of roads, footpaths, parks, sports grounds and community buildings. Some of the highlights was the opening of Hepburn Reserve, the brand new park in Doncaster, upgrades to Ruffy Lake Park's pedestrian bridges and boardwalks, which I've just loved and enjoyed, and continue the planning for our major road upgrades like Templestowe Route and Jumping Creek Road. These projects not only improve infrastructure, they also enhance livability, accessibility and community connection. We have delivered a wide range of community-focused initiatives, from our public health, safety programs, events, to celebrating our community's diversity. We've had the Manningham Asian Cultural Festival that brought over 10,000 people here to Manningham, celebrating culture, music, dance and food. And we've had programs that support our youth, our older adults and people with disability. We've also had activities and services that promote health, wellbeing and inclusion. Our Healthy Ageing Grants was a new addition, and also our Maternal Child Health Service initiatives, and the expansion of our Ocarina program. So just a few examples of our true commitment to community wellbeing. Don't forget the amount of work that we've also done in the environmental sustainability focus. We've expanded our FOGO service, we've progressed our climate action plan, we've invested in solar energy, we've got smart maintenance technologies, we've got protected local diversity, just to name a few. And these demonstrate our ongoing commitment to a resilient environment and providing Manningham for future generations. We've also had a strong focus of governance and sound financial management. We've maintained our service delivery while preparing for the future. We've worked to our community to develop the Council Plan 2025 to 29, to work on new strategic plans, councillors, with many weekends of focused workshops. And I cannot forget our new community vision for 2040 and the priorities and the aspirations of our community and our panel, who all call Manningham home. Yes, the year has brought challenges, so the demand on our community services, the pressures on our volunteer organisations, youth mental health needs, the impacts of global events, but we've always been careful to help support our community through collaboration and partner with other organisations. I just want to take this opportunity when we look at an annual plan like this to congratulate our officers, the dedicated staff who bring this to fruition, councillors who set those visions, and also to the community for their ongoing support. I'm also pleased that we have the independent audit that goes with this about our performance statement, and that has confirmed that all of our results across all of our areas, financial performance, sustainability, capacity, have all been verified by the auditor, and assures that community that our performance data is accurate and reliable, and that we are transparent, accountable and delivering services that meets our community's needs. So I am pleased that Manningham is a vibrant, inclusive and resilient place to live, work and play, and your annual report demonstrates that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lang. Councillor Elter, how would you like to speak to the motion?
Yes, Madam Mayor, thank you very much. And I also do congratulate officers for their work in compiling the annual report and the financial statements and all the documentation. It is no small feat, and I appreciate all of their efforts in doing so. I just specifically wanted to make mention of the financial report and the financial sort of status of council. I think Manningham Council is very lucky to be and very fortunate to be in a situation where it has a significant cash surplus, and it's one, especially with the inflow of capital from the North East Link acquisition where we got that sub $20 million cash inflow. It does provide us with a very unique opportunity to be able to ensure that we're putting that towards Manningham's future in the best way that we can possible. I just want to reflect on the fact that as councillors, we are entrusted by our community to essentially manage the funds that they provide us to provide all of their essential services, plus any additional any additional funds we have on top of that is really for us to sort of maximise and utilise in the most risk-adjusted way possible for our residents, and we are entrusted to do that. And it's one that I really will ensure for the next year ahead and focus that it's one that, as officers, we focus on alongside you, and one that councillors maintain key focus on too. So I just wanted to raise that. Thank you very much to the officers for the report.
Thank you, Councillor. Do I have any speakers against the motion? Do I have other speakers for the motion? Councillor Grievous.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councillors, what an amazing year we've had. I can give you some stats in the year of review and looking at the annual report. Let's start with our population, up to 129,000, nearly reaching 130,000. Acknowledgement, 1.4 million visitors, our biggest asset, getting the most bang for our buck. Loans in our libraries, which is an amazing service that gets provided, 1.4 million. We've spent $52 million in capital works projects, 10.25 kilometres of footpaths, of renewed footpaths. Our 1.3 million provided to community grants. But the biggest ones, 908 births supported, immunisations provided, the advocacy that we're pushing for. That's really important. We want to increase that. We want to continue that. Our cats and dogs registrations, 12,500. Unfortunately, the increase of doubling of the fees, not under our control, but we're getting that under control from our perspective, which is fantastic. We had 649 residents become new Australian citizens in Manningham, so well done to them. So this is the work that we do. This is absolutely fantastic. Citizen of the Year, Brian Tyden, Doreen Stoves AM Award. We had Kate Neal and Luke Baston in the previous year. Community Organisation of the Year, Rotary Club, and of course, the Sports Volunteer of the Year, Anthony Milliker. That's just some of the stuff that we do. That's what we're proud of. Can I also say to the officers, what a fantastic report. In my day job, this report puts to shame some of the public groups and international groups of their annual report. This is a fantastic report and well done.
Thank you, Councillor. Any other councillors wish to speak to the motion? I'll put that to a vote. All those in favour? I'm not sure if Councillor Main has frozen.
What's it? He doesn't look like it. She might have lost connection.
Councillor Main, we're voting on the annual. Councillor Main is back. Thank you. Excellent. Item number 13.4, Audit and Risk Committee Chair's Biannual Report. Do I have a mover?
But the recommendation be moved, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Main, we have that. Thank you now. Thank you. Yep. The joys. Thank you, Councillor Lang. Yes, and do I have a seconder? And that would be myself. Councillor Lang, would you like to speak to the motion?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I am pleased to present the biannual report as one of the councillors that is on the Manningham Council's Audit and Risk Committee with yourself, Madam Mayor. This report is for the period of June to October 25, and the committee is established as an independent advice committee on the matters of financial reporting, risk management, internal controls and compliance. And they might all sound not exciting, but actually they are very exciting, because looking into all of these avenues just shows you how an organisation runs and how we deliver for the community. So I'm pleased to announce that during this time we had full attendance with our meetings that include our independent committee members. We had council representation, we had external and internal auditors, and we demonstrated a strong commitment to this governance committee. So the role of the committee is to look into the procedures of our financial performance and reporting, risk management, fraud prevention, and our internal audit program. It highlights that we perform according to our statutory requirements, and that the committee looks at the controls that are robust to be able to ensure our compliance. So the committee also oversee the internal audits of key areas, and some of those are fleet management, immunisation management, long-term financial planning, IT disaster recovery, and maintenance operations. The committee also noted and valued the internal audits, confirming that we weren't just going for compliance, but we were also going for improvement and innovation. And that's something to be very proud of. The committee further engaged with management to review our risk management and how our lines of control work to be able to not just meet industry standards, but to be able to deliver good quality services. We also looked into the recommendations of the IBAC's Operation Sandon report, the parliamentary inquiry into fraud and corruption in local government, and we discussed these matters to ensure that Manningham's best practice standards are integrated and we are accountable. So in summary, I am pleased to report that this report highlights that we remain a strong, transparent and effective council.
Thank you, Councillor Lang. In terms of speaking as seconder, I just want to talk very briefly, because I agree with you that managing risks is not just something as a policing function, it's an enabling function. And reflecting on what Councillor El-Tahar and Grievous were talking about with the annual report, the only reason that we are financially strong and that we're able to achieve all of the things that Councillor Grievous spoke about to the community is because we have this approach to risk management. It's not about it's not that risk always stops you from doing things, it's how do you do it within a safe way? How do you use your risk frameworks and your risk approaches to achieving great outcomes for the community in a responsible manner? So I've thoroughly enjoyed my time on the Risk and Audit Committee. It's wonderful that we've got members that have got such great experience and exposure across the local government sector to provide such great advice, and the audits, the internal audits are quite far-reaching, even including things like work health and safety and psychosocial safety, which sadly our officers have to face quite often when being out in the community. So yeah, I applaud the work of the committee and support this report and the visibility it provides to the councillors and also the community that we do take these things very seriously and work within a great framework to achieve these outcomes. Do I have any speakers against the motion? Do I have any other speakers for the motion? I'll put that to a vote. All those in favour? And it's unanimous. Thank you. Item 13.5, council meeting schedule for 2026. Do I have a mover?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move that the recommendation be adopted.
Thank you, Councillor Grievous. Do I have a seconder?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I second the motion.
Thank you, Councillor Bain. Councillor Grievous, would you like to speak to the motion?
No, Madam Mayor. It's just, no.
No?
I'll leave it. Yeah.
Okay, Councillor Bain.
No, thank you, Madam Mayor.
Do I have any speakers against the motion, councillors? Any other speakers? Oh, I'll put that to a vote. All those in favour? And that's carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors. Item 13.6, informal meetings of councillors. Do I have a mover?
Yeah, I'd like to move that the recommendation be adopted, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor El-Tahar. Do I have a seconder?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I second the motion.
Thank you, Councillor Bain. Councillor El-Tahar, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yes, thanks, Madam Mayor. I'll keep it quite brief. I just wanted to provide a little bit of extra context. So last month there were several meetings undertaken by councillors and council officers, as always, covering a broad range of topics across our Manningham municipality. The items over the month range from discussing pressing issues of our diverse multicultural community, design of our public spaces, sports and recreation, as always, and the health and wellbeing of our citizens. One of my favourite aspects of these meetings, especially the committee meetings, is hearing from community members on the issues that really matter to them. And this month at our October Multicultural Committees meeting, I was very pleased that attendees felt comfortable and safe sharing personal matters to them that really does work towards helping improving the services at our council offices and the municipality as a whole. So I just wanted to provide a brief update on that. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Councillor Eltaha. Councillor Bain, would you like to speak to the motion?
No, thank you, Madam Mayor.
Do I have any speakers against the motion? Any other speakers for the motion? I'll put that to a vote. All those in favour? And again, that's carried. Item 13.7, documents for sealing. Do I have a mover? Councillor Grievous.
Madam Mayor, I move that the recommendation be adopted with the addition of the following document. Under lease for Manningham Indara Infrastructure Proprietary Limited, premises at Part 284 to 302 Thompson's Road in Templestowe Lower.
Thank you, Councillor Grievous. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Conlon. I'm going to put that straight to a vote. All those in favour? And that's again carried unanimously. Item 14, Chief Executive Officer, and there are no Chief Executive Officer reports tonight. Item 15, Notices of Motion. 15.1. Notice of motion by Mayor, Councillor Deirdre Diamante, NOM, it's got to put my glasses on, sorry, councillors, NOM 1/2025. I'm going to move that notice of motion. Do I have a seconder?
Happy to second that.
Thank you, Councillor Conlon. So, councillors, Recycling Victoria has a 10-year plan, a new economy 10-year plan, and it's aimed at transforming the state's waste and resource recovery systems. And as a council, we wholeheartedly support the work of Recycling Victoria in transforming the state's waste and resource recycling systems. We successfully launched FOGO in July 2023, and I just think it's extraordinary. It's so impressive that we've diverted 74% of waste from landfill through FOGO. And we made a very difficult decision very early on to transfer our general waste pickup to 2 weeks and recycling 2 weeks and FOGO weekly. And it's had a massive impact on our waste diversion. We've only had the container deposit scheme for just on 2 years, and we've already had 18 million containers returned, which is incredible. And some of those do contain glass, like our beer bottles, for example. The part of this Recycling Victoria 10-year plan that we're advocating to the state government on is around the glass recycling. And as I said before, under our advocacy priorities, while we support glass recycling, we have some issues. A, that it could actually undermine the terrific progress of the CDS and also general recycling. And it also doesn't have a discernible environmental and recycling benefit. In recent discussions, our team, and even in an independent report, so not just from our team, but an independent report stated that talking to material recovery facilities, they don't see financial benefits through removing glass from other recyclables. And this is a really important point. Research suggests there's not a significant difference in the amount of glass recovered through commingled versus separate curbside collections, and that the recovery of high-valued recycled glass is greater through CDS than either commingled or isolated glass recycling, given it's not going to be thrown into the bottom of a bin and smashed. So we are very proud to be part of this 33 council advocacy push to the state government to expand the container deposit scheme. I'm raising this notice of motion, councillors, to get your support that we continue to advocate to the government on expanding the CDS to include wine and spirit bottles. I'm also asking councillors for your support that we urge the Victorian government to re-engage with material glass facilities to generate stronger understanding of their position on glass recycling. Councillors, I'm calling for an updated report from the officers on the implications of glass recycling mandate, including options and costs. In support of that, I'm requesting officers engage with our community to seek their views on the glass mandate and also on the fourth purple bin. And I'm also asking that we note not just the advocacy of the 33 councils, but also the recent resolution by Hume City Council in relation to the mandate, and for our officers to continue their advocacy to seek alternatives to that fourth glass bin. So I urge you to support this notice of motion, councillors. Councillor Conlon, would you like to speak to the motion?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you for going to the effort of putting this together. It is something that I think all of us seem are probably, hopefully supportive of, but it's a real travesty that we are actually here discussing this, because I'm still unclear as to how the state government came to the conclusion that this was a good idea ever. Like, I just do not understand. In fact, when you sent this round, I was thinking of being a bit cheeky and saying maybe we should include point J, submit a FOI request to the state government to find out what is their business case for actually introducing the purple bin. Because I know our residents, I'm pretty sure most of our residents don't want it. I know my family doesn't want it. I've got to find more space for another bin now.
Our yards aren't big enough.
Yeah. And when you go, Leslie Street is in my ward, and I tell you that I don't know how they're going to actually fit cars and bins and anything else down that street, because it's already packed. And I wonder how many actually bottles are going to turn up. Is it going to be like the machete bins, like one here, one there? Like, I don't know. It's sort of like. It just beggars belief that they have not considered expanding the container deposit scheme, and that's why I wonder if an FOI request might be valid, because it's almost like because if you do the numbers, you might sort of be cynical and think, okay, well, what they'll end up doing is actually having a whole lot of stuff people putting, rather than bothering to use the CDS, they're going to put their stuff in the glass bin. And then the government makes even more money on the container deposit scheme, therefore shifting the cost of recycling, of less recycling onto our ratepayers. And it's mind-boggling anyway. I'm sure. So I was wondering if an FOI request would actually find that out. But then I've been listening to all the arguments about FOI and how it takes years and yada yada, and it'd never get the answer you want anyway. So I'll let that go and put some good faith into the government and say they're just incompetent rather than conspirators. So to get more money for the state government. So anyway, I'll leave it there. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Do I have any speakers against the notice of motion? Do I have any other speakers for the notice of motion? Councillor Lang.
Very quickly. What we're asking here, councillors, and we're asking of our state government, and we're asking of all our other local governments to join, is don't mandate it, but encourage effective evidence-based recycling.
Right, thank you, Councillor Lang. Any other speakers to the notice of motion? Well, I'll put that to a vote. All those in favour? Thank you, councillors, and that's carried unanimously. Councillors, item 15.2, we have another notice of motion by Councillor Anna Chen, number 2/2025. Councillor Chen, would you like to move the motion?
Yes, I move that the notice of motion be adopted.
Thank you, Councillor Chen, and I'm very happy to second the notice of motion. Councillor, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. As you said before, Manningham is the only municipality in metropolitan Melbourne that has buses as its only form of public transport. This is the title that we are not very proud of. The absence of train and tram lines means our residents are completely dependent on bus services for public transport, making the bus network reliability even more critical. But there are many gaps within Manningham's current bus network. For example, a lack of regular bus services in many parts of Bulleen, Templestowe Lower, and areas east of Mullen Creek, particularly on weekends, and a lack of sufficient bus connections between part of Manningham and employment, health, and tertiary education facilities in Heidelberg, Box Hill, and Ringwood, just to name a few. Our tertiary students can take up 2 hours to campus or accessing essential services. This is because of the limited public transport options, requiring students to use multiple bus routes and walk long distance to access services located outside the municipality. In September 2022, Department of Transport and Planning conducted community consultation in Melbourne's northeastern suburbs to understand the community's aspiration for its local bus network as part of the Victoria Bus Plan. The network areas included Boroondara, Biannual, Manningham, and Whitehorse. Just when we think the light is on the other side of the tunnel, the state government has not yet allocated funding through its annual budget process to implement the bus network reform pilot projects. And the new network plans have not been shared with local councils at this stage. But we understand that they will provide improvements in accordance with the priorities identified through the community consultation, being improved frequency, reliability, and connectivity. The Metropolitan Transport Forum, where Manningham is a member, promoted online bus survey during 2023 Bus Awareness Week. Our residents actively participate in the survey. As a result, Manningham ranked second in the survey participation. More frequent and direct services, more service hours, and more reliable services and missing routes were suggested during the survey period. Other stakeholder surveys and research all demonstrated community's strong support for better bus services. Due to lack of fixed rail, Council is a strong advocate for improving bus services. We know the new network plan has been prepared, but it is not shared with the relevant councils. Lack of funding, commitment to implement the northeastern suburbs pilot project is extremely disappointing. With the coming state election, we call for the state government that the network reform not only has a positive impact to Manningham, it also benefits other 3 councils with a combined population of more than 650,000 people. To conclude, adequate and reasonable public transport access is directly linked to achieving social equity because it provides essential access to jobs, education, health care, and social activities for all community members. It is crucial to those who may not own a car or have other mobility issues. Mayor, it is time Manningham to take the lead and collaborate with other councils to put pressure on the government and remind them to implement the Northeastern Bus Network Pilot Project. The pilot project is also part of Manningham's endorsed strategic advocacy priorities, better bus services for Manningham. And the purpose of this motion is to initiate a collective action with all stakeholders, including the relevant councils on bus network reform. Therefore, I ask our fellow councillors support for this motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Chen. As a seconder, I'm very happy to turn my microphone on and to speak to the motion. Firstly, Councillor Chen, I want to thank you for your ongoing advocacy on bus transport and public transport in Manningham. You've been a tireless advocate. So thank you for that, and also thank you for raising this notice of motion. I note, councillors, after speaking to a strategic transport planner, that Manningham, you know, even though we are reliant on buses, it seems that we do like our buses, and I understand that our bus patronage along Doncaster is just as high as train patronage in Blackburn. So that shows you that we like our buses, and if we have a strong network, our bus public transport will be even more successful. I think it's absolutely critical, and I really thank Councillor Chen for raising this, that the state government shares the new network maps from that pilot project with the councils so that we can provide consultation and feedback. I spoke earlier about just one part of the network, the Doncaster Park and Ride. How do we maximise that? How do we understand the bus network map and use that to maximise the routes that we can have? How do we use our ongoing advocacy for buses up and down Doncaster Road? Ongoing advocacy, starting with Councillor Mayne about using buses to mimic the suburban rail loop, to connect universities that Councillor Chen spoke about. So absolutely, I think this is such an important notice of motion, and I really support and thank Councillor Chen for raising it and urge you all to support it. Do I have any speakers against the motion? Any other speakers for the motion? Councillor Conlon.
Yeah, I'd just like to reiterate, thank you, Councillor Chen, for putting this up. It's great to see a focused notice of motion, and it's really all focused about that Northeast Bus Network Reform Pilot Project. It'd be great to see that get up, and we do need to keep hammering the government as to why, I guess, encouraging them to put the money in the budget and to make it happen. And also, as Councillor Chen pointed out, to let us know what do these maps look like, and let us have some sort of say in it. That would be great. So it is a really important bus. People sometimes complain about the buses and say we should have a train, etc. But I actually think we actually from people I talk to, they love the buses when they use them, and it's often a lot more direct to your house than a train, and we need to make this, I guess, a real priority in terms of getting the expanded services and seeing what the government, if the government is serious about public transport. It's great to see that actually. I noticed I think they were going to give free weekend access or something over the holidays to everyone. Something like that. That's a great idea. That'll promote train usage, but it'd be great if we can get this. It's critical for our future that we have a good public transport system in Manningham, and as Councillor Chen has pointed out, that Northeast Bus Network Reform Pilot Project is a great starting point, and it's surprising that the government just keeps on shelving it effectively. So, thank you again, Councillor Chen.
Thank you, Councillor Conlon. I'm going to put that to a vote. All those in favour? And thank you. That's carried. So, item 16, urgent business, and there are no items of urgent business. Item 17, councillor reports and question time. Do I have councillors who would like to make a report or ask a question? Councillor El-Taha.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Tonight I'd like to share a community update of significance and have a question of sorts for officers. So I just wanted to update that kicking off tomorrow is the beginning of the community consultation on the Templestowe Streetscaping project, which endeavours to nurture and revitalise this precious community precinct in Manningham that serves so many of us. Works will be based on feedback from the community who enjoys it. So the Your Say Manningham page and survey link will go live tomorrow, and there will be posters displayed throughout the village with QR codes. Residents will be mailed, there'll be an e-newsletter available, and there will also be pop-up sessions with details on the website. I encourage anyone who lives near, works in or frequents the village to please engage with the survey. And furthermore, on this vein, I also want to flag my support for the work officers are doing to give support to the local businesses in the village. And I'm also very keen for us to continue to follow how these sorts of initiatives can be extended to businesses across the municipality, and what other initiatives Manningham can take to ensure we are supporting our local businesses to thrive. And before I get to my question, I just want to sneak in that I would also want to touch on the preservation of Petty's Orchard and the blackberry situation. I very much appreciate the advocacy work that officers have done to Parks Victoria. I do believe that more can be done to ensure that Parks Victoria does understand and prioritise the preservation of this important piece of Templestowe history. My question, and really is more support for the continued focus on, is for the work officers are doing in regards to reviewing and assessing how Manningham Council can facilitate personal financial management workshops in our municipality to help our residents have financial confidence and wellness, especially during these testing economic times. I especially want to mention how important I think it is for there to be a specific workshop focused on youth financial management for Manningham's youth and young people, as this is often a group that doesn't get the same access to financial hygiene literacy, and this doesn't get spoken about enough. And the decisions in these early years can have life-altering impact for them.
Thank you, Councillor. Time.
Oh, can I just quickly finish the question? Just that officers please provide an update.
Yes,
Thank you.
absolutely. And I will ask Karen Patterson to provide a response for you.
Thanks, Councillor. As a half of your question, we're currently doing some work to have a look at what our partners are providing in terms of financial literacy to understand what is currently available to the community and where there's potential gaps. And that will help us inform how do we bring together or inform the community about the great opportunities that are already existing, and or work with our partners to fill potentially some of those gaps. We're also looking at doing some consultation with, for example, our Youth Advisory Committee to better understand what the needs are and how we can help support that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Karen. Other questions? Councillor Lang.
Thank you. I'd like to once again raise the matter of the Park Orchards public toilet, which remains an ongoing priority and long-standing request from our community. As identified in Council's public toilet strategy, the Park Orchards Reserve was determined to be the most suitable location after a thorough assessment of the options within the shopping precinct, which unfortunately did not yield a viable site. The reserve provides the best connection to key community amenities such as the school, kindergarten, tennis club and broader recreational precinct where a toilet is most needed. While the potential inclusion of the external toilet at the future Park Orchards neighbourhood house redevelopment is a valuable addition, the need for a public toilet in the township is immediate. Given that the neighbourhood house construction is not yet funded, I believe Council should continue progressing an independent solution at the reserve. I acknowledge officers' work and the challenges identified around the reserve, particularly land size and sewage connections. However, I'd like to seek clarification on what the next steps are for advancing a standalone public toilet at Park Orchards Reserve, and whether feasibility investigations could be commenced sooner with Council support. Finally, I'd like to thank the officers for their ongoing engagement with the Park Orchards Ratepayers Association, who continue to advocate constructively on behalf of the community. I look forward to an update on how Council can move forward and deliver the essential and must-needed amenity as soon as possible.
Thank you, Councillor Lang. I'll ask Andrew McMaster, Director of City Planning and Livability, to provide a response.
Thank you, Councillor Lang, for your question. You are correct that council officers have recently completed an assessment of placing a public toilet at Park Orchards shops. It's a very constrained part of Park Orchards in that area, and the site's been deemed not feasible due to the lack of council-owned land and some significant trees and connection issues. At this point in time, officers remain hopeful and think that the best option for a public toilet in Park Orchards is within the community house, which you're quite right is yet to be funded. The public toilet plan's coming to council for a briefing in the next couple of months, and a discussion about with councillors about priorities will come out of that discussion. Certainly the Park Orchards Reserve site is something that officers can consider as part of that prioritisation discussion. It is a constrained and difficult site because of problems with sewer connection in that area, so it will require some further investigation to be deemed feasible, but the prioritisation question is one for your councillor colleagues and one that we'll be bringing to you shortly.
Thank you, Andrew. Councillor Chen?
Mayor, I have two questions. Should I ask one by one? Yeah, I have two questions. Either I ask all at the same time? Oh, yeah, all right. So my first question is Victoria's new planning rules, effective September 15, 2025, require a planning permit to remove, destroy, or lop a canopy tree in a residential zone, even there are no overlays on the property. My question is, what is the impact on our planning permit process and the enforcement action and information sharing to the community where there are no development is proposed? Thank you.
I'll again ask Andrew McMaster to provide a response.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Chen, for your question. The amendments to the planning scheme do significantly increase the complexity of the planning permit process, in our view. The new requirements for canopy tree protection in residential zones are far-ranging and will have impacts upon our ability to assess planning permits within the team, and it's something that we're monitoring closely. A planning permit, as you've identified, may also be required for vegetation removal, even when works or development is not proposed and where people are simply wanting to remove a tree, and that is a significant change in the planning scheme. As these new controls have not been introduced as an overlay, the community may not be aware of the need to obtain a planning permit, and I referred tonight to an article we've recently published in Manningham Matters promoting the importance of canopy trees. A further article is also planned for Manningham Matters in the next issue to advise the community about this change to the planning scheme. We've also updated our website to make this a prominent part of the planning section of the website so that people are aware. It will also, the complexity of our planning process will also be impacted by the need for applicants to submit an arborist report, which will have to be considered by our planners in terms of removing canopy trees. So we will certainly see greater demands on the team as a result of these changes. There's also been some changes today announced by the state government which relate to the time for planning permits to be turned around for particular categories of residential development. The cumulative effect of these changes is something that we're going to have to watch very closely. Our planning enforcement team is aware of these changes to the planning scheme, and we will have to also enforce illegal removal of trees where a permit hasn't been applied for, as per our usual process as part of that planning enforcement team. The information sharing with community we've touched on. Obviously, there are opportunities for us to continue to talk to community about the significant suite of changes in planning reform moving forward, and certainly the tree changes will be part of that discussion with community.
Thank you, Andrew. Thank you for asking the question. Yes, thank you. Yes.
My second question. Thank you. Last year, Manningham Council hosted a homelessness roundtable that brought together a wide range of local organisations to identify our strengths and gaps in understanding and supporting people experiencing homelessness. On 24th of October this year, Council hosted the second homelessness forum. Councillors were welcome to join the final 30 minutes on both occasions. Although I attended both final 30 minutes, it was insufficient, I found, to gain insight of these emerging issues, not just from visible homelessness like rough sleeping, but also from increasing housing insecurity. Could officers consider inviting councillors to attend the full session as observers, alternatively provide briefing and opportunities for councillors to ask questions following the session? Thank you.
Thank you. I'll ask Karen Patterson to provide a response.
Thank you, Councillor Chen, for your question. You're right, we did just recently hold our second homelessness forum last Friday. The purpose of that event was really about connecting service providers and trying to initiate practical ways for those service providers to either independently or in partnership support people experiencing homelessness. This year we did extend the invitation to members of our Eastern Region colleagues, so councillors and service providers across the Eastern Region. The intention is that officers will prepare a report on the outcomes of the forum, and that will be shared back with the participants, but we can also share that with councillors as well, so you have that information. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen, sorry. Councillor Goff.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I don't know what the state government's doing these days, because they're actually bringing a lot of things out to the public that the public are reacting to. I want to talk about whether we can actually get a report to come to councillors on our planning scheme on flood overlays, because recently the state government has introduced a new set of overlays, and we had a bit of a fuss that hit the papers. I know that Yarra was one, but there was another council that had hit the fuss, and then Talkback has got onto it, and I really want to get to know what's actually written there and whether we actually do know what's written there, because what is being said and what is reported in the papers, whether it's strict and on Talkback Radio, is that the basis of the new overlays is the one in, get this councillors, 1 in 20,000 year event. 1 in 20,000 year event. Now, it's not in the report, but apparently it's buried in the reports behind the report that is the basis of the maps. And that's why the big hullabaloo about the areas were flooding or whatever. I'd just like to get to a council SBS meeting in the near future, a report about the contents of this new thing, what its effects on our drainage strategy and thing is going to have, and us doing the overlays, and basically put to bed this 1 in 20,000 year, not 1 in 1,000 even, but 1 in 20,000 year, which has been admitted apparently. So I'd like to get to the basis of that, because it has something on yep. You don't have to answer the question on what I've asked, but
I'll ask Andrew McMaster if he has a response.
Thank you, Councillor Goff, for your question. I'm not familiar with the new flooding controls being related to a 1 in 20,000 year event. I can certainly take that on notice and investigate that. For the benefit of all councillors and community watching at home, there have recently been some announcements made by Melbourne Water to introduce new risk-based flood maps into various planning schemes across metropolitan Melbourne. Manningham Council is included in that program of work. They're aiming to remap all metropolitan councils within 2 years and introduce planning controls into each of those planning schemes via a ministerial amendment, we understand, rather than the traditional council-led planning scheme amendment process. We have asked Melbourne Water for more detail on that process and asked for an urgent meeting. It was supposed to be last week. They have deferred that meeting for another couple of weeks. We can certainly provide councillors with more information about where to from here, but we are awaiting a new date for that meeting, so I can come back to councillors with information on that in due course. And I can also confirm that the risk rating 1 in 20,000 year event that the councillor has mentioned.
Thank you, Andrew. Councillors, does anyone else have a report or questions? Councillor Grivers.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just wanted to raise a couple of things. Number one, the amazing events that were held during the week, the Kevin Hines Grow on their open day, and a fantastic event that it was for, to help community groups down there, as well as the Bendigo Bank Gala Dinner, which now has raised over $6 million for the Manningham community, which is fantastic. That's one of them. And the other one is I just want to wish all the VCE students in Manningham all the best, because today was their first exam of the English exam, I believe, and I believe Peter's daughter and my stepson were part of that group, and we look forward to their challenging times and hopefully success in the rest of their VCE studies, or exams, sorry.
Thank you, Councillor Grievous. Councillors, I'd like to ask 2 questions, and unsurprisingly for all of you, they relate to the North East Link. Councillors, the first one's relating to Timber Reserve, and you're all aware of the need to relocate Yarra Valley Water's pressure reducing station as a result of the freeway widening works under the North East Link project. Councillors, on the 25th of September, residents living around Timber Reserve were informed of the outcome of that community survey. It was option 1 or 2. I've since heard continually from them that they're very concerned with the lack of transparency from the North East Link partner, Burke Tram Road Alliance, a lack of transparency on the actual number of properties surveyed to determine the preferred location of this pressure reducing statement. Even as Mayor, I've received some conflicting reports on the numbers of properties surveyed. I ask our officers as a priority to seek clarity from BTA on the number of properties surveyed, and I also ask our officers to convey to BTA how important it is for them to provide this transparency to the residents around Timber Reserve, Maryland Street and St Marlow Avenue, and also ask our officers to convey to BTA how important it is for them to keep the residents updated when there will be road closures and works in the area. I heard from one resident she wasn't able to get to a doctor's appointment because the road was closed. My second question relates to the Eastern package, I think, and proposed tree removals that could be up to 450 metres west of Tram, 150 metres west of Tram Road to 250 metres east of Tram Road. I know I'm about to run out of time, but following officer engagement with, I'm presuming it's the Eastern Package Alliance, I understand some of this tree removal, which was never envisaged under the original UDLP, some of this tree removal is there to accommodate directional signage on the freeway. We're talking right up outside Applewood. I do not understand how directional signage can be up that high. I'm terribly saddened to learn that we are going to lose more trees and more habitat along that corridor, and I request officers for an urgent meeting with councillors and the Eastern Package Alliance group to understand the need for this tree removal. Can I ask Andrew McMaster to provide a response to the first question and the second question, if you're able to?
Thank you, Mayor, for your question. We have received confirmation from BTA that the number of houses door knocked as part of the community survey was 53. They also confirmed that the original location had greater support than location 2, which was opposite St Marlow Avenue, by a margin of 12 to 10 responses. We're also advised that they've since been contacted by a further resident who lives on St Marlow Avenue who's expressed support for location 1 as a result of that resident being an elderly resident who was unable to respond to the survey by email. BTA have also confirmed that the survey results were utilised as one of a number of factors for their decision making, and other criteria for selecting the preferred site included ease of access, progress of design and vegetation removal works. This was also communicated to residents at the time of the survey being undertaken. BTA have committed some additional consultation works to us. I'm very happy to take your request for more transparency back to them as well. But to reassure all councillors, we are advised that there will be a one-on-one meeting with the resident who presented her own survey to BTA to address her request for the escalation of her complaint through to them. She'll also receive a formal response in writing after they've had that one-on-one meeting. There will be a notification to residents surrounding the reserve to advise when the works will start at location 1. This will be distributed via a door knock 10 days prior to commencement, although they are going to aim for greater notification if possible. There will also be delivered to residents an additional fact sheet on the PRS. The previous fact sheet, some issues have come out as part of the consultation process which will be addressed in this additional fact sheet. and deal with issues raised by residents as part of the consultation process, including proximity of the pressure reducing station to the playground, amenity concerns, detail on the consultation process undertaken to date, and the decision-making process for the ultimate selection of location 1. During construction, BTA is also committed to continuing to engage with the Timber Ridge community as works progress, scheduling one-to-one meetings with impacted residents as required, and providing periodical updates as required as well. On your question for the tree removal associated with the Eastern Package, there was an overlap between the two UDLPs for the Eastern Freeway widening works. Part of the area that you're talking about was covered by the Birch Tram Alliance UDLP, and it showed that those trees in question to be retained. The UDLP for the Eastern Package, as you know, is with the Minister for approval, and Council has submitted a submission to that process seeking as much tree retention as possible. I'm certainly happy to take the request for a meeting. In fact, we're meeting with the Eastern Package tomorrow at an executive level where I can convey those concerns of Council and provide further detail to you on the signage requirements and why that needs the trees to be retained.
Thank you, Andrew. I appreciate the update and all the work of the team in liaising with the project on behalf of the community. Any other questions or notices, councillors? Thank you, everybody, for your participation. I will move on to item 18, confidential reports. So we have 2 confidential reports tonight. So can I have a motion, please, to close the meeting to the public to consider the confidential matters?
Madam Mayor, I move that Council close the meeting to the public pursuant to section 66(1) and 66(2)(a) of the Local Government Act 2020 to consider the following items. Item 18.1, Planning Scheme Amendment C125 MAN, the Yarra Valley Country Club, and item 18.3, the CEO Employment Matters.
Thank you. Councillor Lang, do I have a seconder?
I'll second that, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Grivers. I'll put that to a vote. And that's carried. So we'll now be closing the meeting to members of the public and end the live stream.